Hi guys, it's Amy. So this will be my first paranormal story time. I will start right at the beginning. Now the story I'm going to tell you is freaky for my mum, freaky for my real dad and my grandma. Now I originally come from Bradford, which is West Yorkshire, and the house that my grandma lived in was right next to a cemetery. When I was able to talk, I'd say around 1.5, 2. I used to share half the time with my mum, half the time with my dad. And when I lived with my dad, I lived at his mum's house, my grandma's. They were still together, but they were so young, they were 15 when they had me, that I had to stay with their parents. So this goes back way back to when I was like 2. And I slept in my dad's room. Now, for references, you walk into the side door, you walk through the kitchen, then through to the living room, then you turn left at the living room. There's another door that leads to the front door, which was never used, and the hallway, which was just a staircase. You go up the staircase and there's a room to your right, which was never used that I know of. Then there was a room to your left, and then left of that was another room, which was my grandma and granddad's room. The first left was my dad's room. In there was what used to be a fireplace, but it was boarded up. And my cot was always in there. And my grandma loved cats, and I mean stray cats. She would have so many cats at a time that they would just breed and breed, and she didn't know what to do with them. She'd just feed them, and they'd keep coming back. So there'd be like 20 cats at a time at our house. So when I was 2 and I was able to talk, I used to talk about a lady who came to visit me. And she, even to this day, I can remember her face vividly. She had brown hair, in a bun. Sometimes she'd come to me with it in a bob. It depended on when she wanted to see me. And she would have a scar across her face, and I mean across her eye and down her face. Like, serious scar. But she was such a sweet lady. She would always talk to me, sing to me, play with me. I was never scared of her. She was just this nice lady that used to come and play with me when I was in my crib. So my mum was freaking out, and I used to talk about her all the time. And then we got our cats. Our cats, I had 2. One called Ibkiss, who was a nightmare. It was feral. I swear to God it was feral. It didn't like anyone. It wouldn't let you touch it, wouldn't let you feed it, wouldn't let you take it to the vets, wouldn't let you pick it up. It was a horrible cat. Then we had Socks. Now he was a tabby, he had white paws, he only died 4 years ago, and he was my best friend. He would kiss you, he'd rub his face against you, he was the most lovely cat ever. But when the cats came in the room, I would say the lady doesn't like cats. You have to get the cats away. Like, she doesn't like the cats, make the cats go away. And my mum was like, this is weird. I grew older, completely forgot about it, didn't think anything of it. My mum and dad split up, and I went to visit him once, and I said, do you remember when I was younger? And I used to say, you know, there was a lady that didn't like cats, and my dad was, you really need to talk to your grandma. So I did. So when she moved up here, and she moved not far from where I live now in East Yorkshire, she got a chalet, and I went to see her, and she said, yeah, I totally remember that, but the story was so freaky, she didn't want to tell me. And I was like, what do you mean it was freaky? And she said, well, basically, from what I heard from people around the area, before she lived in that house with my granddad, there was a woman and man that lived there. And the man loved cats. Almost as much as my grandma. I mean, he would feed strays. But because of the ammonia and the smell of male cats scenting in the house, which to me is gross, but it was so strong, it affected his lungs and eventually killed him. He got sick and died. And when his wife was so upset about it, she got as many cats as she could, and this is where the fireplace comes into play. She got as many cats as she could, put them in the fireplace, boarded it up with the minute, set it ablaze, and left the cats burning in the fireplace. I don't know how true that is. That's what the neighbours told her. When she was moving, she unblocked the fireplace and actually found cat remains in the fireplace. Still there, years later. I don't know what to make of it. All I know is this lady didn't like cats. I mean, I have no cats now. It's not an issue. Never seen her again since. But that was just weird. I do remember going to visit years after, and we were cleaning out one of the rooms, the room to the right at the top of the stairs, and it had old wardrobes and old beds in it, and just a load of creepy things, and it didn't have light. It was pitch black in there, and it was weird. I mean, the little window that we had just didn't support enough light, even though it was quite bright outside and the rest of the house was light, but this window just didn't seem to let any light in, and it just felt weird. So that was my first paranormal experience that my parents told me of. They also told me that when I was about 2 or 3, we used to drive past this massive building. There was a house that was near some docks. And I used to wave and say, "Hi, sister. Bye, sister." And my mum thought it was weird because I'm the oldest kid. I was first born. I don't have a sister. I mean, I do now. I have 2 sisters now. But I never had a sister. So that was really strange. And when she asked me who was I talking about and who was I saying hi and bye to, I told her it was the girl with a big bum. She was my sister, and in her dress she had a big bum. So all my mum can think is that in Victorian times they had these special plates that went over their dress, under their dresses, over their bums, to make their bums look big and their waist really tiny. That's all she could think it was. So from being tiny, I've pretty much been subject to some paranormal activity. I'm not gonna lie. My other grandma's house was built on a cemetery. This is my mum's mum. Her old house was built on a cemetery. The gates to the front of her house were cemetery gates. Beautiful black ornate iron gates. Beautiful. And this tiny little house, 2-story, lovely little garden. I mean, my grandma and granddad are gardening freaks, so they had like amazing gardens full of bright colours and beautiful flowers and beautiful, trees. Amazing. But this house was built on a cemetery, which was really strange because they'd moved everything behind the house to an actual cemetery now. And I remember as a kid, I had bunk beds in my bedroom, and I would sleep there. And if I slept on the bottom bunk, my covers would be taken from me numerous times a night. Numerous. If I slept on the top bunk, nothing happened to me. So I would always sleep on the top because I was afraid of whatever was taking my covers on a night was taking them from the bottom. It always felt cheeky, not malicious, just playful, cheeky, just wanted to spook me. And I didn't think of it. I was a kid. I thought it was normal, like you do, whatever. Then one night, my bunk beds, the top bunk was so high, it reached over the window. So through the slats at the back of my bed, or the side to me, was against the window. So I could see through the window, through the slats at the back of the bed. And one night, I vividly remember seeing 3 figures walking through my grandma's front garden. These figures were white. The outside was grey and misty. I could have been asleep. 100% I could have been asleep, and it could have been my imagination. But I was a kid, and I was seeing a little boy, a woman, and a man in my grandma's garden, just wandering around. They didn't look up and see me, they didn't acknowledge me, but I could see them. So I turned over, covers over my head, and I went to sleep. And I remember that so vividly. I will do a video with my grandma and granddad and their experiences, because my granddad is very, very sensitive to this stuff. He has seen, supposedly, he believes he's seen UFOs. He believes he's seen spirits. He believes he's seen his dad's spirit. He has seen a woman who moved things with her mind, he says, and it freaked him out so much that he left. He just bolted out there. My dad's taking my little sister to bed. So yeah, those are the creepy things that have been happening. I will do more videos, and I will have my grandparents and my mum validate these things. And I've got many more new ones. So hope you like this video. Please comment and subscribe. Let me know if you've had anything like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Night.